As Roger said, I want to thank the athletics department, the Hall of Fame, the Board of Trustees for this honor that I'm receiving tonight. I'm humbled by the co-inductees and what they've done on and off the court. Let me go to the glasses. Wow, there it is. You know, I had thought a lot about and hoped about the Hall of Fame shortly after I had finished playing, and after 37 years, a little off my radar. Perhaps it's in keeping with the Board of Trustees' recent decision that they felt like it was time to get a Lee in the Hall of Fame, and I went by John Lee Graves, as Bird Datch used to always boom it out in the day. It's been said to play a sport at a high level, you've got to be smart enough to understand the sport and dumb enough to believe that it really matters. I'd like to think I was one of the smartest guys ever to play basketball here as a Phi Beta Kappa, summa cum laude, to med school and orthopedic surgeon. But I really feel like I was the dumbest because I loved the game and it really mattered to me. Every day getting to spend 2 or 3 hours doing something you loved made the long hours of studying easy, kept balance in my life. And looking back, I don't think I'd change a thing for all the hours that I spent both in the gym and in the library. After here, I had a great time with the game of basketball. Played in cities all around the country, in San Diego, Charlottesville, Jacksonville, and in Greensboro, my home now. I was in the military. I had the good fortune of being the only officer playing for the Marine Battalion team, and we played in the Philippines and Okinawa and had a three-peat over there they still talk about. You know, no one gets into the Hall of Fame without having great teammates. When I got here, it was Rob Smitherman, Harvey Hoy, R.J. Skaggs, George Spears, and Ken Jaffe. These guys taught me about the tradition of basketball at W&L. They taught me the dedication and drive that was necessary to play at the collegiate level. The guys that I played with the most, Brian Hansen, Frank Epps, Jay Fechtel, Bill Yates, Chris Baldwin, Scott Shannon, Kevin McClatchy, Dave Wilkinson, Les Fitzenhagen, and we proudly carried that banner of W&L basketball for those years. I'd like to think we passed that along to the guys that we left in the hands of. And that was Fred Bissinger and Jefferson Harrelson, Robbie Spencer, and Mike Hudson. All of us played together. We partied a lot together. We competed together, and I loved every one of them. You know, Hall of Fame is an individual honor, but the truth is that you don't get there without their help, and I think that they all have a part of this for me. And looking back, truly it was my honor to lace them up with these guys every day. You know, in the induction, the one part about being a belated induction, it's allowed me to catch up with those guys, and I've really spent a lot of time on the phone and email and texting, and it's really been a pleasure to catch back up with them. Mac Ryan set the standard for being a team manager, filled by Dick Morris when he left. Jim Murdoch, the trainer, kept me healthy. I missed one game my entire career. Bob Flint and Tim McDonald were the assistant coaches, along with Howard Ainsley, who had a special relationship with back then. The team practiced during our lab time. So my biology and chemistry labs would happen, the team would be finished practicing, and then I would show up, and he'd have to stay there for an hour to teach me the offensive sets, the defensive sets, and drill me. So I really owe him a debt of gratitude. 40 years ago, it's a long time, I was a cocky and immature 17-year-old boy that showed up on this campus. I wanted to play basketball at W&L, and I wanted to go to med school. I had an unparalleled love and passion for the game, had great court awareness, and I could shoot it, and I could score. But I was slow, and I couldn't jump. And the tough job of figuring out what to do with that skill set came in the hands of Vern Canfield. And he took a chance on me when our elite defender, R.J. Skaggs, went down at I think it was about the 15th game of the season, and he put me in the starting lineup as a freshman, and I stayed there for the rest of my time. He really expanded my knowledge of the game, my understanding of the game, and really turned me into the player that ultimately was going to make it into the Hall of Fame. He really dedicated his life more to teaching than to coaching. He was part cheerleader, part psychologist. He was a mentor and a role model to myself and all the other players that I've mentioned here tonight. And truthfully, he taught me more about life and becoming a man than he did about basketball, and I'll always remember him for that. He was going to be here tonight. We've had a lot of conversations, and health issues have kept him from being here. Otherwise, we could honor him again the way the Hall did in 2010 when he was inducted. And that brings me to my tables. And I think I'd start with the man who's not here. That was my dad. He was my biggest fan. He was most interested in seeing me get inducted into the Hall of Fame. He literally saw every game I played in college. He took a trip with us to California, trip up to New York, took 2 godforsaken trips down to Maryville, Tennessee. He'd drive 4 hours to Lexington to watch me play, and then he'd drive 4 hours home, and he'd work the next day. He provided unlimited support and inspiration to my career. If he were here, he'd tell you about the 1,400 plus points and 600 plus rebounds and shooting percentages and all of that. But he really got his wish tonight, and I'd like to think he's here in some capacity. We love you. And later tonight, I think we'll have a Pabst Blue Ribbon in his honor. Here tonight at my table, Chris Baldwin, my co-captain. I was happy to catch up with him. Chris loved passing more than shooting, and that really worked out well for me because he could always get it to me where I could do something with it. My sister Ann is here, who sort of fostered my love of basketball when I was a child. She's here with her husband John and their daughter Grace. My older brother Wes is here. My dad threw him in the car and dragged him to almost all those games we were just talking about. He's here with his wife Donna. As a boy, he helped me with my love of sports, and he challenged me and he toughened me up, which is really code for he beat me up a lot. If you want to talk about how important basketball is in my life, you really have to look no farther than June 9th, 1984. That would have been Game 6 of the NBA World Championship. That's Los Angeles at Boston in the Garden. I just moved to Charlottesville, and I had no TV. And so my roommate and I went over to watch the game with a couple of UVA girls. I fell in love that night with the woman who's been by my side ever since that day, my wife Penny. She's my best friend and the love of my life. She adds color and clarity and spice to my world, and she inspires me to be a better man. In case you're wondering, Bird went for 28 that night in a loss, even the series 3-3, and the Celtics came back to win in an epic Game 7. Our son Lee is here. He graduated from UVA and UNC Med School, is currently a urology resident. See a lot of older guys here, so you might want to give him a talk to before he leaves tonight. Made the long trip from Lexington to be here tonight, and I really appreciate that. I'll close with this. I have a great family. I have a vibrant orthopedic practice, and I get the opportunity to see people every day that want to be better at walking and getting around, and I get to help them. I have a great group of friends that I travel with, play tennis and pickleball with, and golf with. In every way, I have a blessed life. There are moments in your life that are magical, when circumstance and time and opportunity come together in just the right way. My career 40 years ago was one of those moments. And tonight, with my family here, being inducted into the Hall of Fame is another that I will never forget. I cannot thank the athletics department, the board of trustees, and the Hall of Fame enough for inducting me into this small and distinguished group. Oh, wait a minute. I did miss someone. Our daughter, Annalise, is at my table here tonight, too. She went to Yale, and she started at UNC Law School 4 weeks ago. Tonight is her 25th birthday. And I promise you, she had a lot of better options than coming here to see this. So please soften the blow and allow me to embarrass her, and please join me in singing happy birthday to her.